Hi, good morning, you guys. My name is Ashley Young, and I am from Little Rock, Arkansas. And today I will be presenting to you the state of HIV in Little Rock, Arkansas. Okay, so today I will discuss, or starting off, I will discuss the demographic profile, epidemiological profile, our target population, HIV prevention needs, and gap analysis. Okay, so just want to go ahead and give you a little demo information about Little Rock. 18% of people who live in Little Rock live below poverty level, and roughly 11% of them are African American. So you can see we clearly make up the majority of that. Of the 19,586 privately owned businesses, only 16% of them are owned by African Americans. 43% of African American residents have a high school diploma, and only 10% have a bachelor's degree. The reason why that statistic is so important to me is because that's where health literacy comes into play. You know, if you can't make informed decisions about your health, then you're kind of doomed from the start. So, the unemployment rate among African Americans is 16% compared to the national average of 13% in Little Rock. I kind of want to show you guys some pictures. This is the Little Market. This is downtown Little Rock, and some of you might be familiar. I know Herman is, but Little Rock is a pretty dangerous city as far as statistics go. As far as top 10 or I'll say top 20 for murder capitals of the world. Unfortunately, Little Rock is one of them. So if you couple all of that with, poverty, unemployment, the HIV epidemic, it kind of all goes together. So, but this is the nicer parts of Little Rock right here. So, next one. And this is kind of like the skyline type deal. It's this is another part of downtown. It's kind of fuzzy on the picture, but this is just kind of downtown, Peabody. This is the nicer area people congregate. So, okay, and so Little Rock Central High. This is probably what Little Rock is most famously known for. This is Little Rock Central High School. And for you guys who aren't familiar with it, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Little Rock Nine, but basically they were, 9 black students who were pretty much denied entrance into this all-white high school. And so I went to Central, proud Little Rock Central graduate, and it's still very segregated. Like the breakdown of the school is middle class to upper middle class black students, and upper middle class to just, pretty much rich Caucasian students. So. Okay, so some epi information. Little Rock has a population of approximately 196,537 people, of which 42% are black. There are currently a little over 1,600 HIV cases in Little Rock. Of those, 853 are black people, which is 51%. So there are some cases of females engaging in high-risk heterosexual behavior, but 52% of the HIV cases in Little Rock are men who have sex with men. So if you kind of look at those two statistics, you can kind of see that the epidemic in Little Rock pretty much mirrors the national epidemic too. So as far as black people bearing the brunt of the epidemic, and also men who have sex with men bearing the brunt of it. Since 1983 until 2012, there have been 2,674 HIV-related deaths between of HIV, and then 41% of them being black. So if you look at this incidence pie chart, now as you can see, 55% is unknown, but if you look at the most known category, 49% for 2011 are men who have sex with men. Also, when you look at the prevalence chart, it's very hard to miss. The big 48% of men who have sex with men as far as all of the cases, and it's double that of even the second route of transmission, which would be high risk heterosexual activity. Okay, so HIV prevention needs. One of the big ones is mental health services. I work at a substance abuse facility, and I can't tell you the number of people that we see come in who have co-occurring conditions. So they're dealing with substance abuse, probably dealing with HIV, probably Hep C, and they have mental health issues. And a lot of times when we're interviewing our clients, they'll tell you that the reason they started using to begin with was because they were hurt in some form or fashion. They didn't wake up one day and was like, oh, I want to be a drug addict. That's not what they picked for their life. They were trying to self-medicate and had no other means to do that. So we see a lot of mental health issues, and definitely with our clients who also have HIV. Transportation is a need, housing, employment, because we all know that even though it's against the law to discriminate against people for housing employment. We know that it happens all of the time. Support groups, so people can have an outlet to express how they're feeling. And visibility. One of the things that we learn from talking to people, or talking to people who have HIV, especially men who have sex with men who are living with HIV, is that they don't feel like they're visible. In Little Rock, they feel like, it's acceptable, like, okay, well, heterosexuals have HIV. Like, okay, well, at least they're straight versus, oh, I'm a man who has sex with a man, I'm going to hell anyway, so nobody wants to talk to me, so. Next. Okay, so gap analysis. Funding. So I'm sure this is not a surprise to anyone. We could always use more money, and that's what to allocate to different organizations. Location. What I was saying a little bit earlier about visibility. Arkansas, of course, Little Rock is the capital of Arkansas. Arkansas is located in the Bible Belt, so it is a very, very religious portion of the United States. So there used to be a time where the black church was at the forefront of every social injustice issue, civil rights issue, things like that. But when it has come to HIV, we're absolutely silent about it. And that's, of course, because we have to talk about premarital sex and homosexuality, and those are things that we don't want to talk about. And so another issue with that is that, we don't want to talk about it, but 75% of your congregation is born out of wedlock. Clearly people are having sex. And so, but that's another thing that goes along with it. It's hard to talk about HIV. And when we were doing my BTN training, we were talking about how, churches do health fairs and things like that. We were trying to go back in our mind. We've never been to a church health fair where there was an HIV screening. You have cholesterol screenings, you have blood glucose, high blood pressure, all those things. We were sitting there like, doing a powwow. We were like, we have never seen an HIV screening. Sexual health is just as important as mental health, behavioral health, all those things. And so I think we need to get the church to a point where they realize that. So, my soapbox. But okay, so stigma, obviously. HIV prevention education. And this is special to me because I started off working for Planned Parenthood when I graduated from college. And what I did was I did sex education in the schools. So we would go into the high schools and talk to kids about how not to become pregnant, how not to become teen parents, and things like that. Well, I can't tell you the number of times, at least in Arkansas, because the South seems to hate Planned Parenthood because they do abortions, quote unquote. And so I can't tell you the number of times we've had to go to legislative meetings, they're taking our grants because they don't want us in the schools, all because they hate abortion. Well, what they didn't understand is that we're trying to do education in order to prevent an abortion even happening, if that makes sense. We want to, we want to equip kids, with the necessary tools to not make those mistakes and to not, have unprotected sex and things like that. And so, but you have these politicians who make decisions about communities, but they don't live in said communities affected by their decisions. So they're always trying to keep us out of the schools. And I think it's a Frederick Douglass quote. He said that, it's far easier to build up strong children than it is to repair broken men. Broken children become broken adults. If we don't get to them early about sexual education, then they're going to continue their trend when they become an adult. That starts as a child. I can't tell you the number of questions I get. And so the same way, because Arkansas is number 1 for teen pregnancy, and we're number 3 for teen birth, which pretty much means everybody who's getting pregnant is having their child. Well, the same way you get pregnant is the same way you contract HIV. So we have to, make sure that we're educating our kids and telling them the truth, and we can't become uncomfortable with those type of things. And so, yeah, that's my spiel. So, access to health services at Arkansas Department of Health and STD clinics. The clinics tend to close at 4:30. So if you work at 8 to 5, it's very hard for you to have access to go get, HIV testing or medication or things like that if the clinic closes before you even get off work. Condom distribution. The governor sent a email to the HIV STD section of the Arkansas Department of Health saying that they can no longer distribute condoms in clubs and in bars and things like that. Well, that's kind of put a damper on, or at least what the health department considers getting to the people where they are, especially in MSM and Little Rock. That's where they hang out at. So, you want to go give them condoms, but we're legally not able to. So there's another gap. Lack of transportation and adequate housing. Criminalization of HIV non-disclosure. Little Rock is one of the, or Arkansas in general, is one of those states where it is a felony to have sex with someone or spit on them, bite them. It's a felony in the state of Arkansas if you have HIV. And also collaborations. People in Little Rock are very territorial, and I understand funding kind of makes you that way. Everyone has to get their numbers for their program, but nobody wants to work together because I need to get my numbers for this grant and for that grant. So, okay. So, BTN links Black Americans with HIV into care and treatment, strengthens local and national leadership, connects influential peers, raises HIV science and treatment literacy in Black communities, and advocates for policy change and research priorities. The goal of BTAN is to cultivate and support a national network of Black treatment advocates, educators equipped with knowledge and skills. The new cities for BTAN include Baltimore, Kingston, Little Rock, Melbourne, Minneapolis, Richmond, and St. Petersburg. And the existing cities are Atlanta, Baton Rouge, Broward County, Chicago, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Los Angeles, and Louisiana. So, briefly describe BTAN and how it addresses the community needs through training and mobilization. The way that BTAN Little Rock did that for us is the training that we held in February. I had so many people who've been working in HIV for 10, 15, 20 years that they had never been to a training like that, where it was primarily talking about science and treatment, medication, status of care, the care continuum. Everything in Little Rock was about prevention. So let's tell them the fluids and let's tell them how not to give them. Let's tell them to wear condoms. They hadn't had anything or any training of that magnitude that they could remember. So that's how you address those needs. Okay, so treatment education. These are the project areas. So basically, treatment education is basically to empower people living with HIV and AIDS on how to live a good and healthy life with their disease. So we can talk about antiretroviral treatment, having proper nutrition, anything that you think someone living with HIV and AIDS should know. That's what treatment education is about. Patient navigation focuses on linkage and retention and care. Disclosure is helping people who are living with HIV and AIDS to safely disclose their location, because as we all know, unfortunately, like I was saying earlier, there are people who will discriminate against you for employment, housing, just things in general and in life period, all because you have HIV. So just empowering people to know when to disclose. And advocacy, pretty much making sure that there is sound policy when it comes to HIV, AIDS. Okay, this is the logic model. I want to post you guys, so I like reading it because I know you guys can see it, but these are some of the objectives of BTAN and these 4 project areas that I just went over. Some of the things that we do, like the treatment education sessions and getting 1,000 Black people linked, retained, or re-engaged in care. And hopefully, the outcomes are to increase the science and treatment literacy of the Black HIV/AIDS workforce. I think the question with this whole logic model is, why is the reason we're doing it, or what is the reason that we're doing this? And the reason is the impact to increase viral suppression among Black people living with HIV and AIDS, decrease in viral load in Black communities, and increase participation of Blacks in clinical trials. Okay. And so, how was your network formed? So, I engaged new members but recruited them from existing entities. So I sit on the Arkansas HIV planning group. And so a lot of the people that I got to attend my training were people who were on the group, or who I got to be in my network. Because the planning group is kind of just what it is, a planning body. So you plan things and things like that. Versus, BTAN, we actually want to get out and engage the community with what we're doing. So, if that means testing, education, things like that. The Arkansas HIV planning group is more for people who have grants with the health department, so you get to see what they're doing. So that's how and I also recruited people who work in my facility. So health department staff, and that was the awesome thing. Leisha said that about my training. Over half of my people who were in my BTAN training or who are in my BTAN network are health department staff. And so the great thing is that I have a really, really great relationship with the health department, and I really appreciate that. Anything that I pretty much need within their scope of that they can do, they're willing to do. Had 8 service organizations, community-based organizations, the faith community, social workers, college professors, advocates, and Department of Health and Human Services staff. Any challenges? Scheduling, it's just hard to get everyone together. Everybody has different schedules, different meetings, things like that. It's just hard to do that. Participation was actually an opportunity or a success. People were very willing to participate. Funding is always an issue. Just trying to secure funding to actually do the things that we plan and want to do. Okay, so my partners are the Arkansas Department of Health, Jefferson Comprehensive Care, Living Affected Corporation, the Arkansas HIV Planning Group, Planned Parenthood, Our Care, and Merck Pharmaceuticals. Okay, so engaging traditional Black institutions. The TBIs that I engaged were people we already had relationships and partnerships with in place, and I knew that they would be supportive throughout the process. So at first, I was just trying to get people who I knew would come. Hopefully, they would spread the word to other people, and then they would want to engage. I recruited from educational and the religious sectors because our target population are young Black MSM, and so a lot of young Black MSM are in school, and then a lot of them go to church. I think the study that's come out, I forgot which one it is, but it was talking about that more Black men who have sex with men who are HIV positive are more likely to go to church. I forgot what the study was, but the way I engaged the traditional Black institutions in the work that I was doing, just former contacts, and they did have experience working at HIV because they were coalition members. So some of the successes and challenges of recruiting them, lack of consistency. What I figured out with people, what's one thing that I figured out about people and their will to do things, I figured out that a lot of people are concerned about the problem, but a lot of people aren't committed to it. And there's definitely a difference. So, I might be concerned about, peace in the Middle East, but what am I doing about it? So it's one of those things, like actually having people concerned and actually wanting to do the work. Religion, what I was talking about as being in the Bible Belt, sex is just a very touchy and taboo subject. And promptness, people don't ever get to meetings on time, so that's an issue. Next. Okay, so describing the work that the network did throughout the fellowship. Initially, and even kind of now, we're still in the planning stages. We talked to the target population, which are Black men who have sex with men, to see what they thought would be the best method of going about and reaching their target population, because it's men who have sex with men is a very untouched population in Little Rock. There's only one organization in Little Rock, or actually in the state of Arkansas, period, called the Living Affected Corporation, who actually does work with the LGBT population. Unfortunately, they just lost their funding. So, which is kind of an open door for us now, though, since we have a new network. We can kind of take on what they've been doing and try to figure out how they've been doing that. So, and they're actually reallocating their money because they lost $90,000. I don't know how much of it they had spent, I forgot, but now their money is up for grabs for people. So now trying to talk to the health department and see how do you go about maybe applying for those funds. So did the network take on a new meaning? Originally, when we first found out that we were going to establish a B10, the target population that I had picked was youth because that was pretty much my expertise and what I was doing already. But obviously, after talking to my B10 chapter, we went ahead and decided to follow the statistics because obviously MSM are most impacted. I was able to integrate well into an already formed coalition. My retention rate was 73%, and the group dynamics are very interesting. You have a lot of strong personalities in B10 Little Rock, and a lot of people who think they're right, a lot of people who know they're right. So it's very interesting. And so, but at the end of the day, those people really do have a good heart, they have expertise, they know what they're doing, and so we just have to find a way to collectively put all that together where we're all can make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. So. Okay, so the one-day science academy and training. So what I did, my topic over for my facility was HIV testing. We talked about untreated HIV infection, diagnosing HIV infection, HIV testing, and bacterial STIs. The reason why I picked this is because my treatment facility does do HIV testing on a monthly basis. And I thought it was important because I work at a substance abuse facility, like I was saying. And so, obviously we have a lot of people because obviously IV drug users are susceptible to getting HIV. We have a lot of people there who do have HIV, and they also have Hep C. So I thought it was important for my staff to get trained because a lot of them are just drug and alcohol counselors and things like that. They have no knowledge of HIV. HIV is just my work. It's my baby at the facility. I thought that it was important for them to get that because I'm not in their office. We work in 2 separate offices. So in case one of the clients had a question about it, if I'm not there, which I'm not, I'm in the field more than anything, I thought that it would be very important for them to know and to be able to answer it. So that's why I picked the topics of HIV testing. The training turned out really good. Like, we actually ended up doing a separate training maybe a few weeks after that because my boss was like, okay, this is amazing and we need to go ahead and do something else, so come up with something else. So I think I ended up doing like another module that we had done at UCLA. But I had a 51% increase from pre-test to post-test. The average pre-test score was 41% and the average post-test score was 92. The one complaint they had was more time for Q&A. I tend to get on a tangent when I start talking, and so then I look up like, oh, we got 3 minutes left before we have to go back to work. And so that was their one thing. They wanted more time for question and answers because they were really interested in it. And I had 18 participants. Okay, so my 3-day training. I only did 2 days because I did the prep activity. So, and I split them up into weeks because it was hard for me to get a Thursday and a Friday consecutively for people to be out of the office that long, 2 days in a row for a full 8 hours. So I went ahead and split it up into weeks instead. So the first day was Thursday, February 13th, and we had it at the BCD Empowerment Center, which is the facility that I work at. We had 32 participants. We discussed the HIV life cycle, HIV disease progression, opportunistic infections, treatment, co-infections, development of B10, as Felicia did, HIV media and church, and stages of care module. So the next week, we had it on a Friday, February 21st, in Willie Hinton Resource Center, and this is actually where my office is located. The first facility is where our treatment facility is, so I misspoke when I said that. We had 27 participants. We talked about needs assessment, HIV mobilization in Black America, and Courtney Hampton, who's the program manager for the health department and a former AAHU fellow, did that presentation. We talked about HIV/AIDS in the LGBT community and social media and how community mobilization can be a part of that. I thought that every topic that was discussed was essential if we're going to end this epidemic in our communities, which is why I felt like those topics were most pertinent. And I got feedback from the people who were actually speaking on their expertise and what they thought would be essential for us to do, what we needed to do. My network helped with the venue. Kim Butler, Cedric, what's her name? Kim Butler, okay. Kim Butler from Merck provided the lunch for the first day, and BAI sponsored it for the second day. Information, like I said, I consulted people about what they thought the information would be pertinent to the training, and they also offered speakers and topics. There was a 56% increase in pre and post test results, 96% satisfaction among participants. They asked for more group sessions. I let them break into group sessions each day, and they really liked the kind of the cohesiveness of working together, so they asked for more of that if we do another training. And I had 59 participants total. Okay. Challenges. So funding, again, is always an issue. The venue, I had a hard time, or I had secured a venue for a certain day, and then they had to bump me out because somebody else who was more high up than me wanted it the same day I had it. So I had to rush and find a venue, which is how we ended up having it at our treatment facility, but it all worked out great. Time, just, time tends to get away from you, and so you have a packed full day of speakers, and then you know how things tend to run over and just things like that. Speaker cancellations. Now this is a funny story. So Alicia was coming to speak on my first day of my training. Well, there was some kind of conference going on in Atlanta. Well, Ralph Wilmot, who is he's the section chief for the Arkansas Department of Health HIV section, he was supposed to speak on needs assessment. Well, I think that's when that snow hit Atlanta, and so he got stuck. And so I think my training was on Thursday. He called me at like 10 o'clock at night and was like, Ashley, sorry, I'm not going to make it. And my training was the next day at 9. So I'm freaking out and like about to start crying though, like, cause he was like first up, cause I'm a planner and it just makes me nervous. So I called Alicia. She was on a plane from Jackson coming from Cedric. She wasn't answering. I'm like, Alicia, oh my God, I'm sorry to be calling you so late, but I really need you to fill in. So it was just a big fiasco. And so Alicia was still on the plane, but thankfully Kim from Merck was able to kind of step in the gap. And so she did 2 sessions that day. And so I was really thankful for her and I really appreciated it. So success is information. Everybody loved the training, all the topics. Like nobody said one bad thing about any of the speakers or the information. So that was a good thing. Participation, again, I had to close the availability of people to come because people were just RSVPing and coming. And I was like, okay, more people than I have room and food. So I had to close it, which is a good problem to have. The reception, everyone loved it. New relationships, obviously, meeting, because I met a lot of new people who I haven't ever seen in HIV work because they were social workers, college professors, things like that. So you don't normally see them at, health department meetings and things like that. So just meeting those new people and getting funding from Merck and BAI. So that was a success. Okay, so this is Kim from Merck. She talked about the HIV science and the life cycle. And this is just a picture of some of the participants. Okay, there's Alicia. She was talking about the development of B10, and it's me listening to her. So that's Danny. He works for Our Care, and there are the people of our Ryan White program, and so they obviously deliver direct services, and so he talks about their program, and he talked about HIV media and the church. So. Okay, and this is the second day, and this is when we had broken up into a group activity, and I think I had broken them up to talk about, I think it was the stages of care module. Well, I think I broke them up. And this is Courtney. I know the picture is kind of fuzzy, but Courtney is a 2011 CMC AAHU fellow, and so I love Court. So, and so this is Kim, me, Alicia, and Danny. Okay, so my problem statement. There are a lack of services that specialize in providing HIV treatment and care to Black men who have sex with men. Additionally, there is not a coordinated effort to inform the community about available services and engage them into care. B10 Little Rock will work to establish a model of how to engage Black men who have sex with men into available services, utilize efficient and existing resources to reach 18 and 34-year-old Black men who have sex with men. The goal of B10 Little Rock is to engage young Black MSM and inform them of services available to them. And the objectives are to engage providers of resources that can be utilized by Black MSM and empower Black MSM and create a holistic and safe environment for them. Okay, so to our project areas, B10 Little Rock treatment education. So cultural competency for doctors. The target population are primary care physicians in Little Rock, Arkansas. So we had a big discussion about how a lot of primary care physicians don't know that they can treat HIV. It's not something that you have to go, you can see HIV patients. It's not something that you have to have a specialized area in. And so there's training available from the Delta Education Training Center. And so we talked about hosting a conference for them so that maybe they can get continuing medical credits or whatever the equivalent of continuing education credits is for them to come and attend this training. So we said that we will host a conference to better equip them to know how to deal with HIV positive patients, specifically Black MSM, by October 15, 2014, for at least 10 primary care positions. And we're partnering with the Arkansas HIV Minority Task Force and the Delta Area Education Training Center. Okay, so patient navigation. What you don't know can hurt you. So we plan to recruit 25 HIV positive Black men who have sex with men in Little Rock and host a town hall meeting by September 25th, 2014. What we figured out is that a lot of people, there are services available, but a lot of people don't know where those services are, where they can get them, what they do. So we decided that we will host a town hall meeting for young Black men who have sex with men, featuring service providers in Little Rock. So they'll be aware of available services such as substance abuse, utility assistance, mental health services, housing, employment, etc., whatever they need. Disclosure, BU decided to implement a support group of 15 HIV positive Black men who have sex with men ages 18 to 34 to equip them with the skills to safely disclose their HIV status as they see fit. The BTN Little Rock will use the Debbie Healthy Relationships, which focuses on skill building and positive expectations, because it's not just a disclosure Debbie, but sessions also enhance decision-making skills for self-disclosing HIV serial status to sex partners and helps participants develop and maintain safer sex practices. Okay, so advocacy, AIDS Watch 2.0. So for those of you guys who don't know what AIDS Watch is, it's something that they host in DC every single year. And so basically, it's a 2-day conference, I guess you can call it. And so on the first day, you spend all day getting trained in different sessions. So HIV criminalization, sex education, housing, Ryan White program, all of those things. You basically get educated about that. Then the next day, they turn you over to Capitol Hill so you can go talk to the people from your state about the issues that are going on in your community. So I thought, we thought, BTN thought that it would be a good idea to kind of have a local version of that. And so we would train people living with HIV and AIDS and HIV advocates on talking to their state representatives on issues that are relevant to the HIV community. So one of the major things that we found, like I was saying earlier, that MSM feels they're lacking is visibility. So that's how the project proposal relates to the findings of our needs assessment, making sure that we're getting the word out there about men who have sex with men, like they're here to stay, and you need to see this program, basically. Our project plan did not need to be revised during internship 3. One of the successes that we had were willingness and support, buy-in. The challenges were times to meet, again, conflict of people's schedules, and time management. So basically, the way we've monitored progress so far is surveys and questionnaires about what is it that people in B10 want to do. So what is it that you think we need to do? And we also couple that with what the MSM population wants and trying to find a common ground. And so asking survey questions and questionnaire questions, and asking questions on the questionnaire about how to do that. The one thing that we haven't actually done yet is project implementation, because we're still in the planning stages of it. So hopefully, once we can get the ground running and coming to a common ground, we can go ahead and move forward with project implementation. Okay, so one of the things that we plan on doing for monitoring outcomes is to actually monitor through an open dialogue. And making sure that we come to a consensus on how to pick the right tool for monitoring that. Or that's one of the challenges is trying to pick the right tool to do that. One of the changes that we're going to implement due to the evaluation and monitoring results is more convenient times. Possibly modifying the treatment education project area. Some people are a little iffy about that, getting the doctors to come, so we're trying to revisit that. So what are the findings of the outcome monitoring? One of the things that we have found through open dialogue and just surveys for B10 recruitment and membership is that we need more diversity. We need more diversity race-wise, and we need more diversity profession-wise, because a lot of us are already doing, you know, the HIV work, so we do need some more people who are in different fields because they have different outlooks on things, so that's important. Okay, so one of the findings for B10 meetings is that retention can be improved, and trying to make it more convenient for people to actually show up to the meetings. And and the outcome monitoring for B10 training is that it's pretty much excellent. Everybody loved the B10 training, so that's, yeah. Okay. So challenges with the AAHU fellowship. Time, there never seems to be enough of it. Just, you know, on top of, you know, doing your work for work, and on top of, you know, the AAHU internship reports and just the stuff that we're, you know, that we have to do, just time. The workload sometimes got a little heavy. Consistency, funding, successes. The number one thing that I can definitely say about BAI is that they were always there to help. So if I'm calling Tanisha last minute, it's like, because I need something, she's like, okay, well, I'll see what I can do, you know. And so just, you know, always being there, and, you know, not never calling back, like always calling back and emailing. Like, I really, really do appreciate that, because we couldn't have gotten through this without y'all. Valuable information. There is no other way that we could have gotten this world-class information without being in this program. So that I'm really appreciative of. Relationships. Yeah, so I formed some great relationships in the AAHU cohort, and, you know, it's been great. And just the belief that I really can do what I want to do, you know, just like, you know, being empowered and that I can do it. So next. Okay, so next steps, we're gonna, you know, get to a point that we've been having regular meetings. We're trying to get them more regular towards it, like maybe, you know, hopefully weekly. Rewards, having people see what we're really here for. Acceptance among the community about what we're trying to do. And just exactly having people not just concerned about the problem, but committed also. B10 leadership, we're still in the process of trying to get that straightened out. Future trainings for B10 Little Rock, I would think is really, really important, because like I said, the Black Church is at the epicenter of everything that, you know, Black people do. So getting faith leaders involved and doctors on the side. So, yeah. Okay. And so acknowledgements, I want to thank the Black AIDS Institute and UCLA, and my host agency, Better Community Development, and the AAHU Fellows. And I'm done. I am relieved.